Well, hello everyone. So welcome to another exciting AMA hosted by Unicast AI. I am Benoit, and today we are diving into the ever-evolving world of Web3 careers with a special guest, Don, CEO of TalentBridge, a recruitment firm. So Don has extensive experience helping talent and project connect in the space, and we are thrilled to be having insight from him today. So if you are new to Unicast AI, we are building a Web3 job board and career hub directly on Telegram. Our platform makes it simple to discover, apply, and share Web3 jobs and opportunities. We are proud to be now partnering with over 80 projects and supporting a growing community of plus 20K people of Web3 professionals through our job board. So today's session will be about Web3 career demystified, skills, portfolios, and opportunities. We'll cover in-demand roles in Web3 and the skills needed to succeed, how to build a strong portfolio and stand out, misconception about Web3 careers, and advice on how to navigate the space. As always, this AMA will be recorded, so don't worry if you miss any part of it. We'll also have an article afterward. Feel free to drop your question in the chat, and as always, we'll try to address as many of them during this session that should last about 30 minutes. So, welcome, Don. Really appreciate to have you joining us today. Before we dive into specific question, could you introduce yourself and share a bit about your journey into recruitment and, of course, Web3?
Okay, thanks so much for having me. I am really excited to do this podcast together with you and your team, right? Hi everyone, my name is Don. I'm actually championing recruitment in TalentBridge, right? Well, I would say my journey into recruitment and in Web3 has been quite a interesting experience. I started doing recruitment back in the day with a small firm, boutique firm, in fact, where we were really focused on doing tech recruitment. And over time, because of what we did, right, I was drawn to how fast, crypto is moving, right? Over the years, I have been involved in different setup, but no matter which setup I went to, there's always really heavily involved in Web3 and crypto recruitment. So now, with Talent Breach, where we specialize in connecting, I would say, talents with opportunity in the Web3 blockchain space. And I think this year is even more exciting with how things have been shaking up over the last few months. And I think it's not just about the technology, but also a lot into how the industry has been defined, how they have redefined how we work, how we connect, as well as how do you, increase your career path as a talent, So yeah, happy to be part of this podcast and looking forward to what we are gonna be discussing.
That's great. So yeah, I think we can start talking about key roles and the Web3 ecosystem in itself. So I know you are talking with a lot of talents of candidates. Could you give us an overview of what you think are the most in-demand roles in Web3 currently?
Sure. I think right now, the most in demand roles is still very heavily into tech. I've been speaking to candidates, specializing in the infrastructure development side. So we're talking about roles like blockchain developers, smart contract engineers, full stack developers, and also protocol engineers. I think this is more on the technical side and have always been the core of how the industry is shaped. But on the non-technical side, I think I see a rise in content and community managers. I believe that's in relevance to how the market is moving, with every project looking to got onto the first wave in 2025. So that's like the kind of roles that I see that has been in really high demand over the last easily 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay, interesting. And do you have any emerging or lesser known roles currently? that you're seeing like a growth because obviously like the space is evolving so much. New jobs are being created and some are irrelevant now. How do you see the space evolving around this?
Well, to be fair, although I mentioned that the core of hiring has always been with in focus to more technical roles, but I would say that there has been really interesting roles that has been coming up to our desk recently. We're talking about roles that focus on doing technical crypto research. These roles needs the candidate to have really deep understanding of what cryptography is. How do you understand the market, and from there, right, giving out the necessary advice to the firm or the stakeholders onto how research is being done. And on the other half, right, as we see that more and more regulatory rules coming up. There's also a rise in compliance in particular. I have seen my clients coming to me to look at candidates in specifically with um, compliance skill set. We're talking about very specific markets where there's a rise in pro crypto actions, or I would say licenses. In fact,
Okay, that's very interesting. Regarding especially the crypto research type of role, what are, for example, like the skills needed for this kind of role? Because I think many people who are listening today are very passionate about crypto and Web3, and I think that would be a role that can interest a lot of people. If you have some tips on what would be the key skills to learn to have a job like this one.
well, it depends on which side of the spectrum you're focusing in terms of the research. If we're talking about a research role that predominantly focuses more on the market, we're talking about like investment. We're talking about things like how is the market movement like. These kind of roles, I think, as you do have to have sound investment or financial knowledge, right, and couple it with your research or homework in terms of understanding of what is crypto. If you are looking at the other spectrum where we're talking about really tech focused crypto researcher roles, I would say the candidate do have to know a lot into the technical infrastructure of how blockchain and tokenomics is. You got to know, like, as a developer standpoint, in my opinion, I've seen a lot of really good developers that eventually move up to do less coding and in fact focus more on technical research.
Okay, I would guess as well that jobs such as crypto researchers are more remote friendly, contrary to, I would guess, maybe I'm wrong, the regulatory type of job that are more linked to a specific area. Are most of your position that you are covering these days fully remote, or they are still based in a specific location or country or city?
Well, in crypto, I've seen a lot of different expectations because I guess every project function differently, right? So it depends on the team that you are actually working with. But of course, you're right, Johan, that more and more roles are getting looking at doing it remotely. We have candidates that reach out to us that, oh, Don, do you have any roles that that's encouraging remote work? I would say a good 70% of the roles that we are working with are pro remote. The rest of the 30%, right, it really depends on what, number one, how does your team function, right? And the kind of stakeholders you are managing. And number two, it depends on the actual role. Say, for example, we're talking about a compliance role, right? In relevance to that, if let's say, for example, the compliance professional is required to get certain licenses, as we know, right, that certain region, you do need very specific license in order to operate. So in this part, right, then there will be a need for the developers or for the compliance candidate, right, to be able to be based directly in the region. Like for example, the in the last month, we were actually looking at a role, this compliance director role, whereby it required the candidate to be based in Dubai because that specific said project, right, is actually looking to apply, say for example, a VARA license in that sense.
Okay, yeah. So 70% is still quite a large chunk of it. So now to speak a bit about the skills in demand, let's take so two different type of job, one technical, one non-technical. So blockchain developer and product managers. Uh, would you be able to give some hard skills, like the most important hard skills that you think these days for those two type of job, or more for the technical type of job and the non-technical type?
Well, for the more technical roles, for example, blockchain developers, right? I think proficiency in programming languages like Solidity and Rust is I'm seeing a rise in these two particular languages. Of course, Go is has always been there, right? And I think it will still be, right? Roles like product managers, I think is getting more and more common, right? For product managers to understand the technical infrastructure of blockchain, and many of the roles that we are working on, right? The product managers are required to have the experience to code. They can be ex software developers, and then now after looking at or doing and developing different infrastructure, they can effectively
This space was downloaded via spacesdown.com. Visit to download your spaces today.
be a technical product manager. And I think the rise in terms of technical product manager roles is gonna be even more coming into this year in that sense.
And how about the soft skills, for example? What would be like the most important soft skills these days in the field? Would it be, for example, like communication? Because more and more teams are fully remote, so being able to communicate effectively is, I guess, very important now.
I think adaptability is something that's very important because things are moving so fast, right? I've seen projects that, I know the founders, market change, and you do have to adapt really, really fast, right? Of course, having a fully remote environment, or I would say close to 70% remote work environment, right? Communications is definitely important. And, but I think on top of communication, the ability to be really independent, to be really disciplined is also very important because when you are, in my opinion, right, not in a space whereby you're working together with your colleague, there will also be a chance that there might, you might feel that, okay, today I would want to just take a little break. So things like this is very important to succeed in a role in Web3 because we're not talking about the conventional resume. We're talking about what do you do to adapt, right? Problem solving skills is some highly sought after as well because Web3 again, right? We are moving so fast. We do not just want followers, projects. They want people that can lead, people that is really independent, people that is able to react really fast when, let's say, there's a problem that came up with, say, for example, during a product launch or during a marketing event in that sense.
Okay, that's good to know. To talk about like technical roles, so these days we are seeing more and more. So before it was more people in the design industry who had a portfolio, but now these days we are seeing more and more technical people and developer with a portfolio. Do you think having a portfolio for people in technical roles is very important if they want to find their first job into Web3, or even if they are already in this space?
I think it's absolutely critical. I speak to ethical candidates all the time, right? And even for me, I will always ask if they have, their work showcase on platforms like GitHub or through a open source contribution, because these days it's not just about speaking with the candidates. Even us as a recruiter, we must be able to assess the candidates' code quality, what is the kind of contribution they have done, right, and how do they usually collaborate in an open source project, for example.
Okay. Would you have some tips for people looking to build a portfolio? Like, what's the format that you usually prefer? Is it like a website or a PDF or other? And what should they showcase the most? Would it be, as you said, open source contribution, or working on personal project, or even attending hackathons, for example?
I would say start small, right? Don't be too hungry or too greedy in a sense, right? Into, oh, I must join a tier one project or I must join a tier one company because again, right, your conventional CV, right, your professional resume is important. It has to be, in my opinion, relevant to the kind of role you want to go to in Web3. But on the side, right, start small by contributing to projects. You can play an advisory role. You can play a part-time role as long as you are doing something to show that, look, I'm passionate in the space. I'm interested in what the Web3 development is doing. Then I think that's fine, right? Participating in hackathons and documenting your learning journey, I think is also very important. I've went to DevCon last year, and I see a lot of professionals who are not necessarily currently in the Web3 space, but they are all really interested into joining. And many of them, for example, the developers, they take on hackathons, right? They challenge themselves onto like the new things that the market is interested in, and then from there, right, I think you will be able to showcase yourself, not just your skills, but also you as a person, and then opportunity will come.
Yes, especially because it's also very easy to get involved. Like there are so many projects, it's very easy to find a project where you can be a volunteer or help, for example. Um, to jump on another subject, what do you think are the most common misconceptions people have about working in Web3 or the blockchain industry?
Well, I think the common, misconception is that, okay, Don, I want to go to Web3. Do I need to have very deep technical expertise? The answer is no. In my opinion, it depends on the kind of project you want to go to, right? Obviously, you do need basic technical understanding. If not, it will be a pretty steep learning curve for yourself. But then at the same time, it's not just about technical roles, right? There are non-technical roles that are equally important. For example, there are roles that looking at, say, design, right? A designer role, a UI UX designer role. These roles you don't necessarily need very sound or very deep technical understanding, as long as you know how the market is, how people react to certain things, I think you'll be fine.
And so regarding as well the volatility in this space, of course, sometimes there are bull market and bear market. Do you think the amount of jobs fluctuate during this cycle, or have you seen with your experience that they are all like always growing or staying quite stable in terms of companies that are hiring?
Well, I think it depends, right? Obviously, anyone that's new to the space or even anyone that is already in the space, right, would definitely have concern about the uncertainty of career in the blockchain space. But I don't necessarily agree that, oh, it is just pertaining to the blockchain or the Web3 industry. Even if today you're not in these two industry, right, there's still a chance for you to lose your job because at the end of the day, it's all about you as an individual. How do you adapt? You have to always be evolving, right? If you are only telling yourself, oh, I just need to know a particular skill set, then I will be fine. I should be safe in my job. Then I guess that's not the way to go, right? In blockchain, I think a lot of people like it. It's because why the space is so volatile. It's always evolving. It offers you really unique and interesting opportunities for those that are willing to challenge themselves, focus on building transferable skills, staying updated. I think these are all things that can help you to adapt. And if you have the ability to adapt, I don't think you need to be concerned about how uncertain your career or the space is in that sense.
Okay, that's a good point. Um, I know in the audience we have quite a few people looking to get into Web3. So for those people who are transitioning from Web2 to Web3, what do you think is the best way to showcase transferable skills?
In my opinion, highlight skills like, for example, software development, UX UI designing, product management, or marketing, because it really depends on how and what kind of role you want to go to. But the important thing, right, is that you emphasize on how you have worked with, say, for example, a particular project. how have you tackled a particular problem? Because at the end of the day, right, I think founders, right, they are looking for people that can solve things. They are looking for people that can provide solution, right? So as long as you have done that before, or you understand these two things, right, I think you should be able to know how to share and how to showcase yourself so that you are able to, I would say, have a smoother transition to the space in that sense.
Yes, and of course, so you are saying a lot of resumes. Um, does on the resume usually, so obviously there are not so many degrees in Web3, blockchain, or crypto currently. Um, do you think by the CVs that you're seeing that either certifications or courses or some degrees hold weight when it comes like to the CV, or is it better to have like straight on experience, whether it is as a volunteer or already working into Web3?
I think it's always a mix and balancing it, right? I don't think that formal certification is a must, right? I've seen or spoken to self-taught candidates that they are doing very well in their current role, right? As long as I think you have either you have a strong portfolio or you demonstrate a very clear understanding of what you want to do, what are your strengths, and how you can value add to the project or to the company, you should have a very good chance, because predominantly that is what I see that my clients are looking at. And I think that is also what I've always been advocating to all my candidates or professionals that I speak to on a daily basis. Just remember one thing, right? Bring value. As long as you can bring value to the project, then I think you will stand a good chance in applying for a role, or whether it's like a tier one or a tier two company in that sense.
Okay, that's good to know. And obviously, in Web3, one very important aspect is community. Would you have some advice on how to build a personal network in this space? Because it's also a lot of word of mouth as well that you get access to some opportunities.
Well, at the start of my recruitment journey, I went to almost every event I can think of, back in the day, right? I also highly encourage candidates or professionals that are interested to join the space to attend events as well. But then again, don't just attend everything, right? Make sure you know what is this event's gonna talk about, who's gonna be there, what do you want to learn, what's your objective, right? If you can't be there physically, I think these days, online community is also really vibrant and active. Like, be more active on Discord, Twitter, LinkedIn. I think these are all mediums that can help you to engage yourself, allowing more people to know you as a professional. And always don't be shy to ask for advice, and never think that it's too much of a trouble to ask a seasoned professional for something, because I've seen that a lot of very good founders who are always giving back to the industry. They're not shy to give advices, as long as you know what you're saying, and you know why you're asking certain questions.
Okay, that's good. Let's take as well an example. So if someone has an interview as well, for example, with a recruiter, what do you think is the best way to research about a specific company for a candidate, for example, then to show that he did his research and that he's knowing about the company itself? Do you have some practical tips around this that you sometimes give to your candidate that have an interview?
I always tell them to find out more about the company. That I think these days projects are not shy of sharing what they want to do, what's the game plan, different phases of, say, for example, product they're going to release, right? I think platforms like, for example, crypto job leads, angel leads, or LinkedIn are platforms that I am always on, because even for me as a recruiter, right, assisting our clients, I will also want to keep myself updated, so that when I give information to the candidates, I think it's going to be the first hand, or at least relevant to the latest updates, right? Research projects that align to what the client is doing, understanding their competitors, I think is also very important, because just knowing about them, I think that's what every candidate can do, right? But if you want to show that you are really serious on the role, go the extra mile, right? Study the competitor. Think about you as an individual. If you're going to take on that role, what will you be doing, right? What can be done? Be creative. I think these are, I guess, my advice or my 2 cents in terms of how you can better research or approach companies in that sense.
Oh, those are good tips. We've talked in previous AMA as well about the importance of acting professional. What are the most common or the biggest mistake with candidates that you are seeing when they are interacting with recruiters, for example?
I think I always have to understand that as recruiters, right, we're here to help you and also here to help our client, right? So be clear of what you want, right? I think don't be too vague about what you want to do. I think having a clear understanding of what is your strength again is important because that will allow, say, for example, just say recruiter or HR, right, in-house to identify, okay, how much of a fit are you to the role, and even if you're not fit for that role per se, right? But if you are very clear of how you can value add to the company, I think they will remember you, and there will always be chance and opportunity for you to take on a different role, maybe in the same company in that sense, right? Take time to research about the industry. Don't be in a rush in, because now, say for example, right, people are talking about AI agents. People are talking about L2s on BTC ecosystem. So I must be there, right? I must join these two, narrative. Think about what you really do, right? How you understand the space, right? Don't be in a rush. Understand and prepare very specific examples of how your skills can align with the role. I think that's very important.
That's great. Um, as well, so obviously, it's quite a bit hard to say, but how do you see the Web3 job market evolving for the next 2 to 3 years? Do you think there will be a big growth in the amount of jobs available or the democratization of this space?
I think the market will mature with more specialized roles, right? Say, for example, areas like ZK proof, decentralized identity, modular blockchain. All these are things that we don't see, right? A year back, right? But now, I think the top of the town are focused in these three areas. Enterprise adoption will increase. Demand for compliance expert and enterprise, I think, specialists will also be in the rise, right? I think people can look out for, I guess, area in that sense.
Okay, I think we are reaching the end of this AMA already. Do you have any last tips for those who are actively looking for the next or first opportunity in this space?
Wow, I wouldn't say I have any tips, right? But I will say, stay hungry, right? Always, tell yourself that there are more things to learn, right? Always stay updated. Don't be too, happy with what you know right now because you never know, right? In a turn of a week, what we'll be looking at next in the Web3 space.
Okay, that was a great and insightful session. A huge thank you to you, Don, from TalentBridge, for sharing your expertise and shedding a good light on Web3 careers, as well as providing practical advice. So, guys, if you enjoy today's session, here's a few ways you can stay connected. Do follow us on X at Unicast AI for updates on futures AMAs, career tips, and resources. We also obviously have the Telegram job board at t.me/unicastjobs to discover latest Web3 opportunities, and we also quite frequently share content. We will as well share the socials of TalentBridge and Don if you want to be connected. Don, do you have any final thoughts or words to close today's session?
Well, again, thank you for the Unicast team for inviting me. I am really excited on what you guys are pushing for the space as well. I think for me, I look forward to having the chance to speak with you and your audience again, sometime soon. And of course, I think the last thing is, yeah, we're all gonna make it if as long as we do what we need to do.
Thanks, Don. So, guys, yeah, we are excited to host more AMAs with industry experts. So, stay tuned for upcoming announcements. If you have topics or suggestions for future sessions, do drop us a message. We'd love to have your input. So, thank you all for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you again at our next AMA. Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you. Have a good day, guys.
Bye bye.
Cheers.